Hey everyone, welcome to my usually annual, sometimes more than annual, but definitely annual favorite music of the year list. It's a little late for 2024. I'm sorry about that. Things just got crazy busy towards the end of 2024. And I don't know, I don't like releasing these too early because there's still music coming out almost to the very end of the month. Just checking over everything and making a good list, and now I'm ready to share it. I think the music that came out in 2024 was really amazing, really great, worth mentioning even with a delay. Also, apologies, there's also going to be background noise due to the heavy traffic on the street I live and not having, soundproof windows. But better late than never, even with noise in the background. It's still worth checking these albums out. As I've said before, this is not a best of list. That is subjective, but what this simply is a list of music that made my year really great, and albums that I would love to share with you. Hopefully, there's some new titles in here that you will discover, and hopefully you'll love them just as much as I do. Last year, there were albums that were significantly important. There were albums that were just mesmerizing. There were albums that were super fun. All sorts of things. So let's take a look at some of these. And before I close, I just want to mention quickly about once again reminding you to buy the hard copy. Not only do you get to support the artist way more than streaming ever will, you also get lots of great information that you, at least up till now, don't get online. ECM News Series, I know, now has digital booklets on Apple classical streaming, but that's just one label, and there are millions others that don't. This CD here, for example, we'll talk about this in a few minutes, but this was amazing. And the notes inside are super fun, but also very informative. I mean, just, these little short details about the songs that you're not going to get online or streaming. So if you're into that type of thing, if you want a little more information along with what you're listening, it's a nice reminder to check out these hard copies, because you never know what kind of stories and essays and information you'll get in the liner notes. So, all right, with that, let's take a look at these amazing releases from 2024 and already looking ahead to what will be coming out in 2025. See you later. Minor Moon, Light Up Waltz. Starting chronologically and locally, this gem of an album came out early in the year, and as someone said on Instagram, every track is a banger. Absolutely right. This was my introduction to the music of Minor Moon, and little did I know that I would soon be sharing a stage with numerous people from the album. But what I really love about this record is that they managed to create a unique new sound that transcends any genre label, which is exactly what I love in music. There's definitely influences from many different styles, but collectively they just bring it all together and create something brand new that I think everyone will absolutely love. Continuing locally, we'll turn to the Chicago record label Dried City, which put out some incredible releases this year, including some that instantly became favorites. Bill MacKay, an incredible local guitarist and singer, released his newest album, Locust Land. I got to see the release show for that, and it's really one of my favorite records from this year. Some incredible new tunes from Bill that instantly get stuck in your head. I think anyone will really enjoy this record. Also on the same label, another Bill, but this time it's Bill Callahan, got two new releases this year, including one recorded right here in Chicago at Talia Hall, so that's pretty cool. This album is really a must listen if you are familiar with his recent albums, as it takes music from those and expands them in a live context with a full band, and kind of extends them in a more freer approach. I really love that. It's such a joy to listen to. His other release was another live record, but that one is a look back to over 20 years ago in the Smog era, an EP recorded live in London. Another great thing to get this year from Dried City. We'll look at one more Dried City album in a bit in the reissues category. Turning to bluegrass for a minute, two of my all-time favorite bluegrass musicians released two incredible new albums, both on the same label. Andy Statman with the aptly titled Bluegrass Tracks, and Kenny Kosek with Twisted Sage. Statman's record is a true joy to listen to, containing new compositions from him as well as some classic bluegrass standards, complete with his usual intense improvisations and numerous special guests. Kenny Kosek's record was a real treat to get this year because his last solo record came out in 1997. This time it's stripped down to mostly just fiddle and banjo duets, though Andy Statman does guest on a mandolin on a few tracks. There are so many fiddle and banjo records out there, but for my taste, this is how they should be done. Every track is full of twists and turns, and the interplay is amazing. It's like they're reading each other's minds and pushing it further and further. Highly recommended, both of these records. Lastly, on bluegrass and labels, this year saw the birth of a new label, or rather an old label with a new name, in a way. The three icons behind Rounder Records apparently didn't take to retirement very well and have started a new label called Down the Road Records and released two titles this year, one from Tony Trischka and one from Blue Highway. Trischka's album has already received a Grammy nomination, proving that not only is he one of the greats, but that the Rounder founders continue to release only the best. One more title from the Bluegrass and Beyond category, Mark and Maggie O'Connor with Life After Life. This was a really great record. Came out on CD and vinyl. Really nice gatefold edition there. A lot of great tunes, a lot of variety on this one, but classic Mark shredding on the fiddle, so always great to hear. And on guitar on this one too, so a really great record. Turning away from bluegrass, my soft spot for pop music was satisfied this year with a new release from Foster the People titled Paradise State of Mind. I ordered the vinyl edition, which certainly gets attention for the packaging, which was in a slipcase and was a glitter vinyl. But the music was really great too. Lots of influences from many different sources, and they took them all and made a new sound and a new direction for the band. New people too. Moving on to jazz and beyond, the always superb ECM Records had one of their best years yet, in my humble opinion. There was truly something for every taste this year, and I really do mean that. If you look at their lineup of releases for 2024, I think anyone would find something that they really love. My favorites specifically were live recordings from Tomasz Stanko Quartet called September Night. Really great to get some more music from that late maestro. I love his work, so this was a great addition. We got a pretty wild album from Jordina, Milla, and Barry Guy live in Munich. Really love their work as well. And then Transylvanian Dance by Lucian and Matt Maneri. I have been a huge fan of Matt's viola music for a long time, and as everyone knows, I really love folk music as well, and that's exactly what's on this record, is folk music and Bartok-inspired music that they discovered and are approaching it their way. And then ECM gave us some studio recordings from Tomasz Strønen titled Relations, which is basically an album of duets with the biggest, greatest names you can get from ECM, four other ECM artists. Colin Vallen's album, Samaras, that's a personal favorite of his for me so far. Absolutely great record, and it sure seems to be a fan favorite for a lot of other ECM listeners. If you look in the Facebook ECM group, a lot of people cited that as their personal favorite of the year. And then for me, for my personal favorite was the true highlight of the year was Jakob new release that was actually recorded 10 years ago in 2014, titled Taking Turns, literally full of the biggest names in jazz. For my opinion, ECM released such a diverse array of albums this year, and the ones that I mentioned above show some of the more freer, exploratory side of ECM that I haven't really been hearing in recent years, so I'm just very thankful and happy about what came out on ECM this year. Speaking of free music, my favorite improviser, Thollem, released two new CDs on the ESP label, and they are both must-listens and great additions to his ever-expanding discography. Worlds in a Life, Volume 2, and Infinite Sum Game. The first is a rework of his previous albums with Nels Cline, Pauline Oliveros, and William Parker. He was able to load these into a fascinating sampler and make new music using the sounds from these recordings. The second title is a live recording from a jaw-dropping performance of his in Italy. Lastly, this year felt like it had a focus on reissues, which is a great way for new listeners to discover old titles for the first time, or for fans to rediscover their favorites, often in a better sonic quality. Dried City, that I mentioned earlier, they reissued Troubadour by Dorothy Carter, an album that originally came out in limited quantity in 1976. I am so glad they released this, as it was a new discovery for me and one that was on constant rotation for me ever since. She approached all of this music fearlessly, really giving it her all. It's a wild, mesmerizing, and honest album. Light in the Attic released a fascinating compilation this year titled Even the Forest Hums, Ukrainian Sonic Archives, 1971 to 1996. The music on here is truly fascinating and not at all what I expected to hear. I genuinely didn't know what I would find here, but I saw it sitting on a display in a record shop here, so I grabbed it, and what I discovered was just amazing. It ranges in a number of genres, but it is truly a great find. I think really anyone would find something on here that they enjoy, and it comes with very thorough liner notes. Like, this is seriously something that could get, in my opinion, nominated for an award for the packaging and for the liner notes, because they're very informative and great packaging, so it made it quite a great release. Tony Rice's classic Church Street Blues got remastered, giving it a slightly more modern sound to it, surely keeping it on everyone's mind for another 40 years at least, because the original came out about 40 years ago. John Hartford's album Morning Bugle and Alison Brown's album Simple Pleasures both got remixed and remastered this year. Morning Bugle is one of my favorite albums of all time, and for my taste, the mixing decisions here were very questionable. They definitely indeed succeeded in making it sound like it was recorded this year, but did it need to be? It's an album of almost 50 years old, and for my opinion, it can stand as it is. It can show that age, and it's totally fine because it's authentic. The notes mention that some levels needed to be corrected on the original, which is true. There's some times where the instruments are just too low in the mix, but they went out and changed almost everything on it. It really changed the sound a significant amount. Brown's album, however, got quite a new sound, but it was one that was more in line with the original, while also a little more towards her current sound, a more mellow sound that she achieves now, but definitely more respectful to the original. At the end of the day, though, I'm just very happy that these records are getting brought to a new audience through remixing or remastering and a new packaging. Like the John Hartford record got a whole nother disc of bonus tracks, which were like studio outtakes or alternate takes, and a really big essay for liner notes. So it's really nice to get these things. So I very much appreciate it no matter what. Lastly, for this video, to make it a nice 24 titles for the year 2024, that actually was totally coincidental, but it does make it pretty nice. Is a record that we might get into more detail on a different video with the artist himself, but that is a 3 CD set from the guitar great Ben Monder. This is just a fascinating listen. In fact, Apple Music Replay informed me that it was one of my most listened to albums, but I think that might have been a fluke from the algorithm simply because it's such a lengthy album, but every minute of it is so great, so worth listening to. So we'll end on that one, but more to come.